Okay, sir.
A very good evening, my dear faculty and students. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Sharath Chandra Inguva. He received a B.Tech degree from JNTU Hyderabad in 2007 and a M.Tech degree in VLSI System Design from JNTU Hyderabad in 2012. He received Ph.D. In Electronics and Communication Engineering from GITAM University. GITAM University. He is a lifetime member of prestigious bodies like IETE, ISTE, and member of IEEE. Since 2012, he is working as an assistant professor in Department of ECE at Gurunanak Institute of Technology. His research interests include VLSI Signal Processing applications and adaptive signal processing. He has published 12 papers in high quality indexed international journals. He has also received I2OR Outstanding Educator award in year 2019. So I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Sharath Chandra. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. So can I just start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, you can.
Okay. Hope this is visible and I'm audible to everyone here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Good evening, one and all. I would like to actually discuss some of those open source softwares that are available freely for researchers and engineers as an alternative to those softwares that what we are dealing in during our undergraduation or any post-graduation or any during our PhD programs generally. These softwares are so many of those researchers as well as budding engineers also look for many kinds of substitute softwares, as many of those softwares are actually they are not freely available. They are we need to purchase with those licenses, and we need to incur a heavy cost with respect to the softwares, and they are not actually available for individual licenses also sometimes. And this creates a lot of problem, and whenever we try to practice on these kind of softwares, so it is really a tough task for the students to get on these kind of simulations with respect to the softwares. Okay, and that is the reason I thought that this would be a great idea to share some of those open source softwares that are readily available for engineers and researchers who can easily download and use and simulate and check those theories that what we are actually learning in our classes. Before directly starting with this open source software, what is meant by open source software, I would like to just give you a brief intro about, as most of the audience here present are somewhere related to this electronics background, I would like to generally discuss about those software that are we are actually using in our day-to-day activities in our undergraduate study as well as during postgraduate study. These are various softwares, various licensed softwares that are prescribed by many of those universities in order to use and simulate the theories during our practical classes. I would like to start with most of the softwares which are really familiar to you, most of you. Um, Actually, I would like to give you a brief description about these particular softwares and which we generally use. And these are actually licensed softwares, licensed versions that are available on the net. And they need to actually, whenever we try to use these kind of softwares, we need to procure them first of all. And in this sense, I would like to generally start with this MATLAB. Okay, MATLAB is a well-known software which is a numerical computing environment, which is generally used for plotting the functions as well as the data, and implementation of algorithms, and creation of user interfaces, and interfacing with programs written in other languages such as C, C++, VSDL, Java, Fortran, anything. Okay, this is also nowadays, this is called as a fourth generation programming language, and generally it is developed by MathWorks, and that is the reason it is named after them as Matrix Laboratory. And since most of the functions that what we use in MATLAB are matrices oriented, okay, that was the reason it was actually called as a Matrix Laboratory. And actually it is a proprietary product, and it requires some licenses whenever we try to use this. And similarly, the another popular software that we generally use in our electronics background is the PSpice. Might be in our colleges. Generally, we generally use multi-sim or model sim generally as a an alternative for this PSpice. However, PSpice is actually is an spice analog circuit and digital logic simulation programs that we generally use for Microsoft Windows. This is a prescribed software by many of the universities generally. And this name, that what it suggests, is an acronym for personal spice. Okay, that is generally spice itself being an acronym to simulation program with integrated circuit emphasis. And this particular PSpice is also used for as a part of larger software package called as the Design Lab, and it was originally developed by this Microsim Corporation. Most of them they doesn't know about this, but Microsim is, alternatively we also have another software called as Microsim as an alternative to PSpice, but they confuse with this. But Microsim Corporation actually has developed this PSpice, and it is now marketed by this ORCAD. And to promote this understanding of the simulation process, the emphasis is on using written circuits first rather than a graphical entry of the circuit diagrams and all in this PSpice. And generally you will be using this PSpice software to analyze those circuits related to analog electronic devices and circuits, as well as analog electronics mostly. And then comes this Microvision IDE. Okay, this Microvision IDE software is also it is from Kiel actually, and it combines project management. So most of this programmer, those who work on microcontrollers, they generally know about this Microvision IDE. And they from Kiel actually it combines this project management, and also facilitates something like related to the source code editing and program debugging and complete simulation in one powerful environment. And the Microvision development is easy to use and helps quickly create some embedded applications for us. And this Microvision editor and debugger, I hope that most of the audience here know what is the difference between an debugger as well as compiler as well as an interpreter. Okay, and the Microvision development platform is easy to use, as said, and it actually helps us quickly create some embedded integrated programs. And as said, this Microvision editor and debugger are integrated in a single application, which actually seamlessly helps us to use this embedded projects development environment. And Proteus design suite, this is one of another suite. It is an application framework actually. And this Proteus design suite lets you view more modules of Proteus as tabs in a single window. And it also helps you drag and drop some of those electronic circuits from separate windows actually, and from a side-by-side view, and a common parts database analysis, sharing some information between schematic and PCBs. Okay, this Proteus design suite generally is used for PCB designs, and it also includes some VSM Studio IDE actually, and this helps you to generally access some real-time hardware such as hard drives as well as memory also. Okay, that is what most interesting part with this Proteus design suite. And the next comes is a Code Composer Studio. This is one of those licensed software that we generally use in our B.Tech programs and M.Tech programs too. This is generally used for dealing with Code Composer Studio is actually deals with the DSP process, digital signal processing processors actually, and it is also an IDE, that is integrated development environment, for developing applications specifically related to this Texas Instruments DSP processors and embedded processors. And actually Texas Instruments processors includes DSP processors as well as there are some ARM processors as well, and ARM based devices and other processors such as MSP 430, that what we were talking, and this Code Composer Studio actually is compatible with this. And it also includes RTOS, thus real-time operating system, called as DSP BIOS or system BIOS. Okay, and this Code Composer Studio, it actually has some OS level applications, and generally use some JTAG based developments. Therefore, this is also CCS is also based upon another important thing, Code Composer Studio. It is actually integrated with some open source IDE such as Eclipse. Okay, and it is an open source software framework, something like a Java framework or a .NET framework. Generally, we use for running those different kinds of softwares. Code Composer Studio also runs on open source software framework. Actually, this is one of those a key feature of this Code Composer Studio. However, this is now licensed version. And another thing nowadays we generally call it as Vivado. The Xilinx ISE has changed its names to Vivado, and this Xilinx ISE, once again integrated software environment. It is a software tool. Once again, it is produced by Xilinx for synthesis as well as analysis of HDL circuits, HDL designs, enabling this developer to synthesize as well as compile their designs. Okay, and it helps us to perform timing analysis and power analysis, as well as you can also examine RTL diagrams and simulate a design reaction to different kinds of stimulus that what we generally consider as inputs, and also configure a target device. If at all, if you are trying to connect some kind of FPGA, then it can also be done by using this Xilinx ISE. And actually, the web edition of this Xilinx ISE is free, but however, whenever we are trying to use on a separate PC, generally we need to procure this Xilinx ISE also. And another software that is generally very much popular in PG courses is Ultra Quartus. Okay, and this Quartus is a programmable logic device, PLD kind of design software, programmable logic device design software. And generally, this is produced by Altera. That is the reason it was named as Altera Quartus. Okay, and it's actually features for use of some VHDL as well as Verilog based hardware description languages. And generally, this web edition is also a free version. Once again, Quartus also has free version for web whenever you are trying to deal with some programs online. But however, whenever you are trying to install it on your own PC, then once again you need to procure it. And the low cost family, Cyclone family of FPGAs are generally programmed using this, and this is well supported by this particular edition. And those who are very much well versed with antenna simulations and all, I would now like to talk about this HFSS. Okay, this HFSS is once again a commercial software, which is generally can be said as a finite element method solver for electromagnetic structures, and this is actually produced by ANSYS. And this acronym HFSS means actually high frequency structural simulator. It is one of those several commercial tools that what we generally use for antenna simulations. And it also includes some RF electronic circuit elements, including filters as well as transmission lines. And you can also deal with some separate packaging softwares also. And this is one of those HFSS software generally intended for antenna simulation packages and all. And ComSim, this is once again related to this communication related simulations, that is your analog communications or digital communications. And this is also a popular software. Once again, it is generally used as a solution for designing and simulating this analog and digital end-to-end communication links. Okay, whenever we are dealing with, nowadays we are actually dealing with some 5G communications. Most of this 5G communication related software technologies are generally simulated using this ComSim, and that is the reason I have generally included in this. This might give a brief idea about actually ComSim can be used as a substitute for this 5G communications. That is the reason, since I have titled my webinar, my short lecture as open source software for researchers, I have included this particular ComSim software here. And similarly, there is Cadence Virtuoso, and this Cadence Virtuoso tool is also a analog design environment. Generally, it is an advanced version, and it is a design simulating environment, generally for the Virtuoso platform. It gives you some, whenever we are trying to design different kinds of programmable logic devices or any FPGAs or something like that, generally it helps us the designers to access to a new parasitic estimations. Okay, and that is what the features of this Cadence Virtuoso is. And the other one is the last one, that Agilent Advanced Design Systems. Generally, this is also an electronic design automation software actually, and it is used for once again, this is for RF or microwave related high-speed digital applications. And in a powerful way, generally, in order to say this is an easy to use interface, and this includes technologies such as X parameters as well as 3D EM simulators, used by many of those leading companies which deals with this wireless communications and all. Okay, these are the proprietary softwares that we generally come across in our day-to-day use, and many of them, they doesn't find any kind of substitutes. Generally, they doesn't know about those substitute software which are readily available on the internet, where they can be freely downloaded, and sometimes you can really design your own kind of you can deal with that particular softwares, and you can use your own codes, and sometimes you can also try to contribute to these particular softwares. Okay, first of all, I would like to give you some brief content about this open source, what is meant by open source and all. Before proceeding that, I'll just try to define a bookish definition about this open source. In production and development, open source is a philosophy, and it is a methodology that promotes free redistribution and access to a product's design or ideas and implementation details. This is what our Wikipedia says about open source. It means that it is just like a philosophy. It's in the olden days, we tend to share the ideas of cooking recipes. Okay, in the same way, this open source also helps us. It is the same philosophy and the same methodology which has actually promoted the free redistribution of open content, the programming content to the users actually. And it also provides access to the code behind that, what we actually see as a software. And it sometimes helps you to study about it, and sometimes you can directly edit it, and sometimes you can also implement using, you need not once again rebuild the entire code. You can just use those codes that are already available and make use those particular codes for developing a new programs or new codes altogether. And there are some myths about this open source software, and I would like to talk about some myths about this open source, and I would like to give you some clear idea about what is meant by open source here. Open, generally some open source softwares are free softwares. There is a myth that they are all free softwares. Not all open source softwares are free in nature. They are also charged sometimes, but however they are free to access. Okay, whenever you are trying to access them, they are all free to actually see the codes behind that particular design, or sometimes you can actually get the programming languages, the programming code that what has been developed for executing a particular tab, or executing a particular command in a software, and that particular program is readily visible to you, and it you can always edit it. Okay, that is what about this open source, and that is what it means free in that. And open as in over time, that what means you can always spend time. Okay, and you can always spend time, as well as you can save your time in order to write new programs actually, because most of the programs can be taken directly and they can be edited, and it is not closed programming, closed softwares. That means where you are only allowed to use those particular that means sometimes you are not this is once again the same definition that what I would like to say as open as in access. Okay, as I said previously, that they can be easily accessed. That means the source codes related to those programs can be easily accessible. That is what I mean to say, that they are not closed and they are openly available for everyone, and they can be reused as well as changed. Okay, and you can also use this open source softwares at any place. That means it is not, since this is not proprietary, you can also use on any laptop or any desktop or any particular remote systems. Okay, sometimes whenever you purchase a particular softwares, the IP address for that particular software is generally locked. That means it can't be used on more than one or two devices generally. But now these open source softwares are readily available and can be reused at any place. Okay, that is what. These are some of those myths. Generally, they doesn't know about what is this kind words actually use it for open source softwares as substitutes. But you need to generally try to deal with this particular things. And what I would like to also produce, I would like to present this history of this open source also, a brief history. So, I don't want to actually narrate the history related to this open source, but I would like to generally share how this internet has come into existence. And similarly, this open source also has taken its birth. Okay, previously the researchers used this ARPANET, the Advanced Research Projects Agency network, in order to process some particular command from one particular place to another place. They use it to request for comments to develop telecommunication network protocols and all. And then it actually helped us in order to build a new intranet system, which we call as internet today. And this is how this internet has come into the picture in 1969. And similarly, the concept of this free sharing of technological information, it was existed long before computers. As I said previously, we tend to generally share all those ideas that what we have. Similarly, this now the ideas that what we have related to the softwares are now readily shared with everyone, so that it can be used, and it can be actually changed to a betterment. Okay, where the program can be still developed into a better one. Okay, and the term open source was actually adapted by a group of people in Palo Alto from California. Actually, they have termed this particular software as open source. And I don't want to go much detail into this history, because as we know that history is generally a boring subject. We are not at all interested in this history. The advantages of open source actually includes, as I said previously, the availability of the source code. Actually, always they are freely available, and the source code can be easily understandable, and it can be always learned from the available source codes, and you need not reinvent the wheel. That means you need not actually rewrite the code from the beginning, and it is free as in freedom. It is not with respect to the price, it is only with respect to the freedom. That means you can always change the codes, source codes, and sometimes you can add some source codes, or sometimes you can also delete it. Okay, that is how you have the free with respect to the freedom. It's not about the price there. And also it is not vendor dependent. Okay, most of the times they are all related to they are all not related to a specific vendor, and you can also actually choose some additional support from different kinds of your peers, those who are having similar kind of interest that what you share with respect to a particular program. And they can also fix bugs and adapt to change in requirements as well as technology. And this quality and customizability can be always done with respect to this open source, and it is always better when compared to those proprietary softwares. And the cost, generally it is much less than this proprietary counterparts. As you know, this MATLAB, generally it costs they are not available for a single use content generally, but they generally charge somewhere in lakhs. But whenever you try to use this some substitutable counterparts, they are freely available on the net actually. And similarly, whenever we see there will be two sides of the coin always, and there are some disadvantages with respect to this open source software also, and they are not generally straightforward to use. And so any software, generally we require some training in order to use it. Similarly, here also this open source software also requires a certain learning curve, which helps you to use it perfectly and get accustomed to actually change those codes and all. And it is not that always you can directly edit the codes. Sometimes there will be a particular program head who will generally allow you to actually do this. Okay, and most of the times some open source softwares also have some incompatibility issues with this proprietary operating systems such as Windows and all, and you require some third-party drivers actually in order to install on some licensed softwares and all. Okay, and this is also a common problem that we generally see whenever we are trying to use this open source codes. And sometimes some unqualified people, generally in order to check the codes, and sometimes in order to play with the codes, or sometimes only to test the particular code, some unqualified people generally tend to edit the codes and try to induce some bad codes, which actually spoils our applications. This is also can be done because it is freely editable, and sometimes it creates a problem with some kind of softwares. And the quality assurance process, generally it is not transparent. Okay, that means you can't actually say that this particular software is the best software that is available. Okay, because always it tend to change, and therefore whenever as a programmer, as you continuously change, and if you are also in the process of changing this re-editable code, source codes and all, you will never be getting any financial incentives as that what we see in proprietary softwares actually. Okay, that means you might be a programmer, but you will never get for the source code that what you are writing and trying to include it in the open source softwares. These are, as a programmer, this is a disadvantage for you. However, as an user, these are the general disadvantages generally we see with this open source softwares. And I would like to generally give this some examples of open source softwares and try to end this intro about this open source and all, because nothing to do with this open source for us. There are many application softwares that are available. Those you might be using many of them, and they are actually open source softwares. You might not know about that. 7-zip, this is an actually a substitute for WinZip that what we use, or WinRAR, generally as a zip folders. Eclipse, as I said, it is a .NET framework. Microsoft actually has some Visual Basics. Generally, they do have some .NET framework or Java frameworks. Eclipse is also provides some kind of frameworks for us. GIMP, it is once again, it is an image manipulation programs, generally programming software. GIMP is an image manipulation program, and Chromium, you might know this. Chromium is a browser. Blender, once again, it is something like 3D related software, which can be used as an substitute for different kinds of graphic softwares like Maya and all. And Mozilla Firefox, so once again, it is a browser. OpenOffice, this can be used as an application software where it can be used as a substitute for Microsoft Office related document editing softwares and all. And there are also some operating systems which are open source. They are, as you know, most of you know about this Android operating system, that what we generally use on our phones, as well as this Linux software. Okay, the Red Hat Linux software is also an open source software. And this FreeBSD and the React OS, Haiku, FreeDOS, these are all different kinds of operating systems that are available on the net, which can be used as an substitute for different kinds of Microsoft DOS, as well as different kinds of operating systems. But however, there are some functional limitations with respect to these operating systems. They might not be that user friendly that what we generally see in our perpetual licensed softwares like your Microsoft Windows or any other softwares, okay, any other operating systems. And the programming languages that what we deal with, something like Perl, PHP, or Python, Ruby, PHDL, or Prolog, they're all once again open source softwares. And Python, that nowadays has gained a lot of craze in order to generally use. It is widely used in most of the day because Python is an open source software which can be widely used for editing different kinds of applications. Okay, and therefore this open source daily, it has already become a part in our particular day-to-day lives. We tend to use that, but we doesn't know that they are all open source. Okay, their source code are visible for us, and you can always download the source codes related to any kind of keywords that what you use with respect to these softwares. And you can also have you have a particular a sense of licensing for editing those kind of source codes also. And I found a interesting research article on the net. It actually talks about, I would like to just show you about this research article. And it talks about, it is a good old research article, but it is available on the net for free. And you can generally search for in the internet, generally with this particular title as free open source software in electronics engineering education. Okay, this was actually presented by Vijay Nehra and Aruna Tyagi. And you can actually see here, he has actually helped us in order to helped us in listing out different kinds of free open source softwares that are available for us. Okay, and he has also given the web addresses for us and what are the major highlights corresponding to these softwares that can be used as a substitute for MATLAB. These are all the softwares that are generally can be used as a substitute for only MATLAB. Okay, he has actually presented some 10 particular software which helps us for that. And similarly, he has also included many kinds of softwares for analog simulation and digital simulations and PCB designs. And he has also talked about open source embedded tools which are readily available and which can be downloaded. Okay, he has also given the web addresses for us, and the HDL compilation, simulation, and data visualization tools also that are free open source software for us. And how what is the scope of this particular software, he has clearly presented in this particular article. I want every one of you to go through this particular article so that you can use this particular software for making your research very easy, as well as also in order to simulate most of your electronics related theoretical parts with this particular softwares. Okay, FOSS, the free open source softwares that which are available on the net. Okay, and nowadays IIT Bombay has come up with a special kind of IIT Bombay has actually come up with one more project called as Spoken Tutorial. It actually gives you most of the training related to this FOSS softwares only. That is open source softwares only. Okay, you can freely register in that, and you can have an access to learn all these particular softwares within one go. And I have actually downloaded this particular tables directly from AICT website. AICT website is also encouraging. AICT is also encouraging us to use this kind of similar open source what are sources that are softwares that are available as an substitute for the commercial softwares, and they are also giving us the links how to download them and how to use them, and what are all the branches that are all supported by this particular open source software tool. Also, it was clearly described that, and they are also forcing us to use this particular softwares as a substitute for the commercial software. And now, since we are in the lockdown process, and where we are having most of the time we are trying to access through this e-content and all, now since it is very difficult for the students to go and purchase any particular software, it is better useful for you. It is an essential part for you to download this software from the internet, and you can always try to access your programs and try to simulate them and try to get the results out of it. I have already given you most of the ideas related to how to download and the web addresses that are related to this particular software. I'll try to provide this. I'll try to share the PPT with you. You can always have the look related to this download links, and you can always download from it. And I also am interested in trying to share some of those top electronic websites and communities that helps you in trying to write the codes also. I have a list of codes. I do have some websites, a list of websites, almost like around 20 to 25 websites, which are available on the net. You can go through this particular websites. They really bring a lot of difference to your programming also. Okay, there are many kinds of innovative circuit ideas that are really available on this particular web links. You can go through them and try to actually deal with those kind of softwares there. And sometimes it also gives you a learning experience to read about many kinds of open source softwares also. And this Instructables is really a very good website. How to make anything. You can try to deal with any particular kind of new innovative idea. They will be directly showing a video how to make any kind of electronic circuit generally. And Fab Foundation, this also Fab Lab is an educational outreach component of MIT's Center for Bits and Atoms, an extension of its research into digital fabrication and computation. Fab Lab, generally it also helps you to deal with this 3D printers and all. It also helps you for providing stimulus for local entrepreneurship, and sometimes if you are really this Fab Foundation help you to actually go and establish a Fab lab at our particular places. If at all we are very much familiar, and if at all we are trying to use, many of the students if tend to use this Fab labs, they will also help us in establishing centers at our own campuses. Okay, and all about circuits, you might be heard about this all about circuits and make and all. This Electromaker board guide 2019 edition, which is also available, it helps you to try to actually talk about researched and curated list of 100 boards worthy of your attention. We generally know about only some particular boards that generally help us. But this Electromaker board guide 2019 edition helps you at least to deal with some 100 boards. And geektips.com is one. It is a blog. Actually, it actually gives you plenty of ideas about Internet of Things and Arduino projects and automation technologies. You can also actually have, if you have any kind of idea, they are ready to help you in order to just how to write the codes and all. And the Electronics Lab, open source electronics project and news is readily available. And similarly, you can also have DIY projects, opensource.com, elinux.org, and CNET. These are all different kinds of web related tools. Okay, and if you would like to look at this particular websites, then you can explore them and always try to use them. Okay, I'll try to share this particular uh, uh, I'll try to share this links with you. You can always try to have a try to gain the knowledge out of this particular websites. And thank you. That's all from my side. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer that. And that's all from my side. Hope I'm done. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If you have any particular questions, I'm ready to answer them.
Students or faculty, any of you, please, you can ask your doubts regarding these open source softwares.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, like on this open source software, as you said, there are codes and everything available.
Yes.
So if anybody is trying to utilize those codes for commercial purposes or anything, is that permitted, or should we take a prior permission from the developer or something on that
Nothing.
platform?
You are free to use them. You can always try to use those codes and commercialize to build some kind of new products and all. You are always you doesn't have any kinds of restrictions on using those codes. All the open source codes are readily available. They can be editable. They can be reused. But generally, they are all platform dependent. And might be, if at all, if you would like to use the same idea, then definitely you can use. Okay, the idea that what we generally use in all kinds of software platforms is it will be the same, but the platform will be different, where you need to write your own source code generally. Okay, whenever you try to use any new kind of software tool, then definitely then you need to change some kind of programming language or so. Okay, it brings a difference to your code also. Therefore, there is no kind of restriction on taking the ideas. As open source software, actually it is all about using this programming codes only. Okay, it is the idea behind this open source softwares is to use those software codes once again. Okay, there are no restrictions absolutely, and you can always try to use those codes for making some commercial products and all also.
And I would like to also add into this, sir.
Yes.
Like GitHub is one of the very important platform which I feel where students can go and take source codes and understand and program accordingly also.
Yes, 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 yes. Actually, MATLAB also, the MATLAB software also provides you access to those source codes. Most of the times, if at all, because you are well acquainted with this MATLAB software until now, I'm just taking that example. You can try to go through that particular code that is available on the same particular MATLAB software, and you have you will be having a idea about how to actually write that code and all. Okay, so it is easily understandable sometimes, and sometimes, as I said, if a programmer is really unqualified, and sometimes he would like only to actually work for particular his own application, sometimes he uses some languages which actually some writing style might be different. Sometimes it might not be understandable, but many of the times there will be a moderator who helps you to understand that particular code also. Okay, and this is what the open source platform actually give you an advantage. You can always, if you have any particular problem, there is always a community who helps you to understand that particular code also. There are community forums for each and every open source software. who helps you to actually understand that variable code. If at all you are not directly trying to understand it by just looking it, you can always you can have a freedom to ask any particular questions, and someone from that particular forum might be definitely answering your questions.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes, yes, madam.
Sir, for VLSI backend, do you suggest any open source software, sir? Designing purpose.
Yes, yes. Most of the times, I do thought that there are no particular softwares which are available for backend VHDL related or very long tools actually. But after going through this particular article that what I have shared, he has also recommended some particular softwares which are available, but they are not actually providing that kind of specified tools, okay, which helps you clearly give some backend related information. But however, they are definitely, they can be used, madam. There are some tools, there are some links given in that particular article where from where you can download it and you can use it. There are some backend tools, open source backend tools also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone please ask doubts?
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my learning experience with you. I hope this might be useful for you. I'll definitely share all these links with you, and you can go through this websites and download, if at all, some content from it, which will be really helpful for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this session. Really, it is useful for all the faculty as well as the students, those who want to use open source softwares. And it is really the material what you have shared. Some of the things are still now it is not shared anywhere. You have shared the nice things and very useful information you have given us, sir. Thank you very much for the session. Thank you for the participants also. Thank you all.